G World 7_D. Here's a book, The History of Ancient America, Interior to the Time of Columbus, proving the identity of the Aborigines with the Tyranese and the Israelites, and the introduction of Christianity into the Western Hemisphere by the Apostle St. Thomas. Okay, here's George Jones. One of these books. This book was written back in 1843. All right. Okay. We're going to go to page 290. Dealing with Aborigines and the Tyrians. All right. Page 290. And here we go. Okay. When I get to a certain part, I'll highlight it. In order to give a perfect illustration to the following remarks and to the extracts from sculpture, a full elucidation of the celebrated east wind will be required, not only for the general reader, but for the advancement of the work. To facilitate the explanations, the reader should have before him a map of the Atlantic Ocean, or a terrestrial globe, and observe where the equator, or the equinoctial line, crosses the waters from the continent of Africa, from the continent of Africa to that of the Americas. So you can get that in there clear. All right. See, right there. It will be found to cross the shores of the Nazareth Bay, the Gulf of Guinea, on Africa, and Jones's Land at the mouth of the river of Amazon on America. This line, of course, passes around the entire globe. The reader will then trace 30 degrees of latitude from that line, both towards the North and the South Pole. Towards the North Pole, the line of 30 degrees crossing the Atlantic touches at that point of the Kingdom of Morocco on Africa. Enclosed within that line, the Fortunate Isles, i.e. the Canaries. On America, it touches the St. Augustine. Enclosed within the same line, all of Florida. The two sentences on italics will be referred to in the subsequent pages. Towards the South Pole, in a line of 30 degrees, touches at the minor Namquis River on Africa, and the Tramade on the American continent. Now between these 60 degrees, the equator forming their center, there is a perpetual east wind blowing from Africa across the Atlantic to America, and so around the earth, from east to west on our diurnal and west to east on our nocturnal hemisphere. All right? So it says right there in the book. If I can get it clear. East-west blended, blowing from Africa across the Atlantic to America, and so around the earth. You can still see that clear right there. East-west. All right. The current of air has been called in modern times the trade wind, a name evidently derived from the facility given by to it commercial intercourse from Europe, Africa, and India, with Central South America and the West Indian Islands. It is, however, in the Bible always mentioned as the east wind, and as a proof of the truth of scriptorical record, apart from its religion, wherever a city or place is stated to have been affected by this east wind, it will be found to be within the 60 degrees on Asia or Africa. Thus, science will support scriptorical records, although some writers have hazarded the contrary assertion. This ancient phenomenon, which is now explained by science, must have been encountered by the Tyrians during the celebrated voyage, and is alluded to by prophet Ezekiel, as will be shown as proof that this expedition was accomplished. The reader will remember that this perpetual east wind blows from to the African to the American continent. It is. Okay. If I can see it, the reader will remember that this perpetual east-west wind blows from the African to the American continent. Any vessel, therefore, going to the Western Hemisphere within the degrees specified, with its sails set square before the wind and its rudder secured on its center, the ship will then reach America, tempest expected, without a single seaman or pilot to man or steer the vessel. And as a consequence, therefore, any ship from America to Europe or Africa, or from India, having doubled the Cape of Good Hope and coasting along the western coast of Africa and being within the 60 degrees, will meet that east wind. And will have to encounter what is technically called a headwind, and consequently be in great danger of being broken in the midst of the seas. It says, the skies, and their foundering, and especially in crossing in the line of the equator, for directly over that line is the sun nearest to the globe, varying, of course, according to the seasonal changes. This contrast current of air, this Borinian Mercury, capped and heeled with wings of light, passes from Africa over the broad Atlantic, crossing the continent of America in the Great Pacific. He pursues his faithful flight over the vast lands of China, Australia, and Hindustan, is borne across the waters of Indian Ocean, the Sea of Oman, and the Gulf of Persia, the sands of Arabia, and the wall-divided Sea of Israel, avoiding Europe and the Mediterranean. He reaches his fury and cradle home of Afrique, burning desert, but no cessation is here given to his perpetual course. His energies are but renewed, and on his speeds, his royal progress commenced at creation's birth and must continue until nature ceases. The glorious sun has mighty parent. Light itself has swift speeding herald. The breeze, gale, storm, hurricane, his children and attendants, the golden eyes of heaven, with their princely North Star, the witness of his consistency. Earth and ocean has grand and gorgeous kingdoms, the central line of the entire globe, and for 2,000 miles on either side, his broad and majestic pathway. Man, his only opponent, his only conqueror, science, the image mind of that God, who in the Eden of the universe planted the underlying trees of knowledge and life and of life. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. It's from this book written back 1843, The History of Ancient America, interior to the time of Columbus, proving the identity with the Aboriginal, with the Tyranians and the Israelites, and an introduction of Christianity to the Western Hemisphere by the Apostle St. Thomas. Okay, George Jones, 1843. This book talks about how you have the east-west wind current, the wind current pulling, that can pull ships in different directions during different times. All right. Now, you still have Negroes, and this is known back then. This is 1843. You still have Negroes who are stupid enough to still believe that our people just came over here as slaves. I said over and over, our people have various types of ships, boats that they built, and various different types of ships, particularly sophisticated wooden ships. And our ancestors had a high form of mathematical knowledge. They knew how to read the stars. They knew how to chart the stars. They had high knowledge of what we now know as algebra and geography, geology. No, not geology, excuse me. Geometry, excuse me. They had high knowledge of that. They used great mathematics. And as they traveled the world and sailed the seas and hit many different ocean currents, they were able to travel in various different terrains. I'm saying this because not only they travel east and west to hit the coast of, say, West Africa or North Africa, or hit the coast, the eastern coast of the Americas, they were able to travel within and hit the western coast to go to the other side where, like you say, is Heru, aka Peru. And they was able to travel within North America using the Mississippi, and then hitting different rivers like the Missouri, the Illinois, the Colorado, and building there and leaving great writings there. I'm telling you this is that our brothers and sisters traveled around the world. We were not landlocked and situated. When you listen to these idiots online like that Juicy chick who sit there and say that we just claim to be nativists and giving inaccurate information, she's ignorant, and she's proven her ignorance because she haven't done no real damn studying. She have not done no real research. But she's showing how ignorant she is. But unfortunately, the Boule Negroes think that way. Like people like Dr. Ma'at who don't believe in the Grand Canyon. But you have don't believe that the Egyptians were at the Grand Canyon, but you have so many names: Temple of Set, Temple of Isis, Home of Horus, or Mount Horus, whatever. You have very different Egyptian names over in the Grand Canyon. They sail within over to the Grand Canyon, and they in the areas of the four corners, they carved into so much of them sacred rocks. When you look at them rocks over there, that's just not no natural geological formation. Yes, those rocks came geological. They're naturally geological rocks, but they were carved into. You can tell by looking at the rocks it was carved into. You can look at many different heads of ancient gods that were once there. I'm saying this and I'm explaining this over and over again, is that do not listen to your mainstream scholars. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. They've been giving you a miseducation. They've been misinforming you and miseducating you on your true history. You must go out and really study your true history. You have to study your true history. I mean, you got to hit it to the bare bones. The information's there. All right. Don't listen to people like Andrew Mills Jordan or Umar Johnson. These clowns don't know what the hell they talking about. Sarah Suzasetti. These idiots, man. They don't know the Amara Squad. These old school idiots, man, for that Pan-African nonsense. They believe all people just landlocked, or the Olmec heads were West African people, which is nonsense, man. But whatever, just some West African Negroes. Not understanding is that the fact is that you had major black empires here in America, from what we now know as Argentina to what we now know as Vancouver in Canada, over to doggone Nova Scotia in Canada. We had black people, so-called black people, using boats and ships. Those pictures I showed you before were of black people in America, near the Virginia, near Florida. It showed you I showed you pictures before with them on boats. They use those boats to travel the damn rivers. That's why those damn towns, you see those monuments, were near bodies of water. They were able to travel, move in and out, maneuver. I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, you have to study your history. Do not listen to these mainstream Negroes on YouTube. Do not listen to these mainstream scholars, man. The information's in your face, but you're going to have to spend money and put some time in doing some research. You're going to have to do that. All right? You got to spend some money and put some time in doing this research. The information there, like I said, I had a leg up. I have educators in my family. But I'm telling you this, brothers and sisters, do not listen to these Negroes say you just sit in some West African slaves. You come from some Nigerian tribe, that your people come from Nigeria. That's a lie. Most of our people are already here, and a large number of people came from Europe, expelled Moors. When you look at a lot of those black people, they look like Moors. And there's so many doggone illustrations showing black people with feathers in the head smoking pipes. Tobacco pipes. That's not Africa. That's America. You have to really understand your goddamn history, man. It's in your face. But you're going to have to dig for it still. It's in your face. Here's this book again I just read from. Excuse me. All right. This is Scholar Select, Scholar Edition. Go do your research. Your information is there. You have to do your research. Your history is there for the taking. All right? Your history is there for the taking. Do not listen to clowns telling you come from just Africa as a slave. You've been here. All right? You've been here. This is your history. Reclaim your history. Reclaim your history. All right? Reclaim your history. Peace and love. Peace.